Hi everybody, this is a video about the user known as Mancheeze, also known as Sale Palani, or her real name, Diana Boston. And just to be clear, everything I mention in this video is well within the bounds of public interest. Needless to say, I am not a fan of this woman. She did recently write a blog about me. I'm afraid this is really not a response to that blog. If anyone seriously thinks I'm going to waste my time going through point by point through a blog entitled Intersectional Male Feminist Captain Andy versus Aboriginal Women, you're a fucking idiot if you think I'm going to waste my time going through that. Anyone who actually takes a blog like that seriously is a fucking moron. And I'm not really sorry for the tone I am taking here, by the way, because this woman is a thoroughly disgusting excuse for a human being, as which I'm sure a number of people I know are already aware. But I'm going to kind of detail this in this video, just so there is at least a document online which thoroughly goes through the majority of horrible qualities this person has. Unsurprisingly, she hates men. She makes a number of remarks about men that I am showing to you now in these various screen grabs. I'm showing you those first for a reason, because a lot of the time, especially even like more third wave feminists, the sort of people I tend to associate with, often will make excuses for this kind of language, saying that it's for shock value or it's trying to make a point or something. It isn't. It can be taken very literally. This particular comment is particularly awful here, where she basically says, men are not raped, only women are raped. Rape is a gendered crime, and the reason why the definition has penetration in it is because we know rape is a male crime. That's an absolutely disgusting thing to say. This is a complete dismissal of anyone who is not a woman being raped, which specifically because she is someone who doesn't accept any ideas outside of the gender binary. She is referring to cis men. But yes, of course men get raped. Boys get raped. You stupid fucking asshole. And we do have an admission here in this clip. Radical feminism, by her definition of it. I'm not interested in getting into an argument with anyone about what is and is not radical feminism, by the way. I'm going with the definition she has chosen to use here. She says it's not about equality. So, fuck it. If it's not about equality, I don't care about it. So we have a number of mindless clips. But yes, we have this. Yes, men are selfish and love abusing women. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, and this sort of fetishization of violence against men. She says, I'll slice his tiny cock off, then rip his tiny balls off and stick them in his mouth. Here's a fun thought as well. Why do you need to say this person has small genitalia to bring them down, unless you already subscribe to a patriarchal view? Because that's how, if you like, anti-feminists like to attack feminist men, by the way. It's always about questioning the size of their genitalia. Just seems a bit odd, that. And of course, yes, women must take over the world. I think Mancheeze thinks if women took over the world, she would somehow be in her element. I don't think she would. Yes, Mancheeze is also an ableist, as we can see from this image here, where she makes this, in my opinion, very disturbing remark. Every male should be his size. Women would never be raped, and women would be healthy and free of male violence. That's very disturbing on a number of levels. I don't want to sit here picking it apart. I'm going to let you, the viewer, dwell on that on the various layers of horribleness expressed there. Mancheeze is also famous for being a racist. As we see here, I mean, from this comment, she's basically playing into this stereotype of the black inmate rapist. Even though, of course, men can't be raped, according to Mancheeze. But yeah, we're not going to expect consistency here. The other thing she is known for is around the time of the killing of Trayvon Martin, she spoke up in no uncertain terms, stuck up for George Zimmerman, saying he wasn't a racist. She has removed that video from the internet. However, Greytax did a response to her, which includes the audio from that video, and I will just insert his video here.
Okay, so the only reason I'm talking about this is because I'm bored, I'm waiting on a parcel coming, and bleh, right, okay? I wouldn't normally discuss this individual because they're a fucking moron and duplicitous and just generally a horrible, vile, wretched, insincere human being. And who am I talking? Of course, I'm talking about Sale, Polanyi, Diana Boston, whatever, you know. And fucking hell, you know, misanthropy rising. So anyway, she's made a video called "Stop Calling Zimmerman," George Zimmerman, the neighbourhood watch guy who followed a young black kid in a hoodie down the street and then shot him to death and then claimed it was self-defense. George Zimmerman, stop calling Zimmerman a stalking racist infidel. And good Torah study tonight. I don't know how she managed to put the infidel bit in, you know. Perhaps it's because he's black and probably a Muslim, and Muslims hate Jews, and she's a Jew, or has been for a couple of years now, you know, and that's why. But, you know, she's got to add in bits about her, because that's the way she is. It's all about her. And anyway, let's listen to the video and see how stupid she is. Stop calling Zimmerman a stalking racist. Okay, that's what we'll take from that. Why? Is it because he's not a stalker and not a racist? Well, let's hear.
Okay, I hope this is recording.
I don't.
Well, you know, let me just get one thing out of the way. This whole nonsense about Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman is really bugging me. This whole idea that...
It is nonsense, by the way, that, you know, somebody would see their human being, start stalking them, and then kill them. That is pretty much nonsense. So you're right about it being nonsense, you know, because that wouldn't happen in my country. That would not happen in my country. Okay, it wouldn't happen.
If you can't see that George Zimmerman was a vigilante, then you're somehow just a racist.
No, that's not why people are saying he's racist. They're saying he's racist because he's doing racist things. Like, he's assuming because the guy is black that he's going to be a criminal. That's the racist thing, you moron. Not because people are saying he's a vigilante, you know. And you have to agree he's a vigilante or you're a racist. Nobody's made that argument. Show me anybody who's made that argument. Well, you won't.
I know that if I was working with the same information that he had, and more importantly, the lack of information that he had, I would have done the exact same thing.
So hold on a second. He, in the heat of the moment, killed somebody out of paranoid and insubstantiated fears, and you would premeditatively do it. You would sit there in the comfort of your home and decide that you would kill somebody out of information you didn't have. Because of a lack of... You just said, most importantly, the information he didn't have, you would kill Trayvon, right? So you just said, out of ignorance, you would kill somebody, and you stand by that, and premeditatively do it. That would not just make you a murderer, that would make you a premeditated murder. You'd be in jail a lot longer than George is going to be. You're such a moron.
If I was in charge of Neighborhood Watch,
Well, if you were in charge of Neighbourhood Watch, you would have no neighbourhood left, because it's all fuck all. I mean, I'm surprised you even have neighbours. Do you have neighbours? I don't know. But Zimmerman wasn't in charge of Neighbourhood Watch. He was a self-appointed person claiming that he was watching his neighbourhood. He had no authority to do what he did. He had no connection with the police other than the multiple calls he'd made to the police over the previous year. Some might say crank calls, if you know the kind of people that constantly phone the police. And the police know the people that constantly phone them, and know that most of them are paranoid regs.
and I knew that in the past,
Just ask a police officer. Ask somebody who works on dispatch in police services. Do you get people that phone you all the time? Yes. Are they mental? Yes.
8 months or a year, that young black teens were breaking into the homes, right?
No, there were a set of burglaries in the homes. It wasn't established that it was young black teens doing the burglaries. You're just making that one up. This is why people say it's racist, Diana. You fucking moron, right? You've heard, oh, there were a series of burglaries in the area. Therefore, it must have been young black teens doing the burglaries. That's where the racism comes in, you fucking moron.
Then I would be suspicious of young black teens.
And that is racism as well. Even if it was, even if all these burglaries were done by young black teens, to assume that a young black teen will then be a burglar is racist. You know, what if it was people with blonde hair? Would you look at every person with blonde hair and say, oh, it must be them that's the burglar? What if they had green eyes? Would you be on the lookout for people with green eyes? No, because it's skin colour, then you're on the lookout for skin colour, and that's where the racism comes into it. But of course, if everybody was the same skin colour, you would be breaking it down into hair colour and eye colours, because that's the history of bigotry.
That I didn't know coming into the neighborhood. It's just a fact. I mean,
it's just a fact that you're a racist. Yeah, I mean, this is the definition of it. Okay, you think because somebody's black and young that they're more likely to be a criminal. That's racism and ageism. You fucking moron. It doesn't follow just because somebody had black skin and committed a crime, it's more likely that other people with black skin will commit crimes. That doesn't logically follow. That's called racism, you fucking moron. So why would we stop calling you or Zimmerman a racist if that's your mentalities?
if it had been young Italian-looking dudes, young.
Yeah, and if it were young Italian, it would still be racism. You fucking moron. Don't you get it?
Chinese dudes.
It would still be racism. Don't you get it?
Right? It would have been the same thing.
But you don't know the ethnicity of all these burglars that were going around at the time because they hadn't been caught.
It just so happened in this case, it was young black dudes.
No, it wasn't. Where's the evidence that all the burglaries committed in the last year in his neighbourhood were done by young black dudes? Where are you getting this fact from? Where's your source? You don't have one. You're not going to provide one.
Right?
No.
So, I would have followed him without a doubt.
You would have followed... Right, so the title of your video is Stop Calling Zimmerman a Stalking Racist, right? You've already admitted you're a racist and you think in racist ways, and you've already admitted you're going to stalk somebody based on your racism. So why should people stop calling Zimmerman a stalking racist if you're advocating being a stalking racist and defending him from a stalking racist perspective? You fucking moron.
Would have followed him. The problem comes into play. Well, there's
idiot.
a few problems. I mean, where are the Skittles? Where are they?
Where are the Skittles? What's that got to do with anything? You know? He saw somebody, he didn't like the look of him, something looked wrong about him, and guess what that was? Black. Wear the hoodie, okay? Then he started following him. And then he frightened him. And then he started the conversation with his stalking, creepy behaviour, which led to a confrontation, which led to that guy getting killed, okay? If he had not been such a paranoid, racist, stalking wreck of a human being, Trayvon Martin would still be alive today. Maybe that hurts you.
On the ground. You know, they found the bag, they found the iced tea, but where were they?
Maybe it was Trayvon's black thug drug dealer buddies that took the Skittles away when they were hiding in the bushes waiting to stalk and attack some white folks.
Did he eat them? Were they still in his...
Maybe he didn't even have Skittles. Maybe he was doing a drug deal at the 7-Eleven. He wasn't buying Skittles at all. He was selling heroin to children.
You know, pants? What happened?
What's your point? What's your point is you're just going to imply that he wasn't buying, he was up to something nefarious. That's what you're going to imply. You know, you're not going to have any evidence or anything. We've got evidence of Zimmerman looking at somebody, stalking them, following them and killing them. We've got evidence of that, but you're not even going to bother with that evidence. You're even going to deny he does it, whilst arguing that he does it and he's justified in doing it, but you're still going to deny that he did it, because you're a fucking idiot. And now you're just going to play on some kind of fantasy of Trayvon Martin being some kind of heroin pushing thug for life, whatevs. You fucking idiot.
Did he make it home? Right? And this is the thing that I don't...
He didn't make it home. He got killed. He got killed on the way home. He got killed by somebody who was a paranoid, stalking idiot.
I understand. If you are being stalked and you're afraid, like it's being...
No, I don't think anybody would ever stalk you. So I don't know if you've got any kind of position to make that kind of inference. But, yeah, let's go on.
You said, and like his apparent girlfriend who he's on the phone with, Dee Dee, if he was really afraid, he could have made it home like that.
Well, he could have led the person stalking him to his house where he and his little brother were staying. Like, would you have done that? If you were being stalked by somebody, let's say for example somebody got drunk enough to copulate with you, right? And then that baby was born and it wasn't taken away by social services, and it grew up to like the age of 8 without being severely mentally impaired by the existence of its mother. And you went out to 7-Eleven to get some fucking, I don't know what you do, I don't want to know, and you came home and you were being stalked. Would you go into the house where your child was thinking there's some stalker behind you? Would you let them know where you live? Would you do that? Even George Zimmerman has the sense when he's on the phone to the police, he's reading out his address, he's like, oh, I live in 1350, oh wait, I'm not going to read out my address because he might hear. What do you think's going through Trayvon's mind when he thinks he's being stalked? No, if I was being stalked by somebody, I would confront them, and I certainly wouldn't lead them to my house. Okay, that's fucking sense. That is proper brain functioning of a human being, and that's what most people would do. Not you though. Because you have, I don't know what kind of brain. It's not human.
He started running, right? And he got a pretty good distance before George could even get to the intersection to see which direction he went in. Right? You would just run home, don't you think? You would go home and...
What, was somebody stalking you? No, I don't think so.
Be safe in your home, right? If someone's stalking you.
Why? Why would you be safe in your home? You don't know what weapons they've got. You don't know what they'll do. You don't know what they're capable of. You just know there's some guy bigger than you, I don't know what, fucking following you, right? Following you in a car, and then they're following you on foot. They're on the phone. You don't know, they might be phoning for people. Might be phoning for extra people, you know, to come down and help them do you in or something. You're saying, oh, George Zimmerman didn't know all these things, so he's allowed to jump to a conclusion. What about Trayvon? He didn't know anything about George Zimmerman. What did he know about George Zimmerman? Some creepy guy fucking stalking him. And then he filled in the rest with his imagination. At least he didn't fucking kill anybody.
You, and then, like, maybe you would call the police? But no, that's not what happened. As far as I'm concerned...
Have you ever been, like, in the lowest... Well, you're the lowest of the low, but... You know, I would imagine there's not a lot of black people in America that would feel safe calling the police about something. You know, that phoning the police isn't the first thought that enters their mind when something wrong happens. Because all or most of their experiences with the police are negative. But there you go.
As soon as Trayvon Martin attacked him and physically started beating the living hell out of him.
Physically started beating the living hell out of him. Right, okay.
That's when he lost his rights. He lost them.
He lost his right. So somebody stalked him, frightened him, cornered him, and when he lunged at them, they lost their rights to live. He lost his. As he got stalked, he got cornered, he was afraid, and he lashed out, and that's him lost his rights to live. Well, let's say George Zimmerman, when he pulled the trigger and killed a human being, maybe he lost his rights to live. You know? Isn't it the same scenario? Is it not the same situation? Somebody can now kill him because he's lost his rights.
You know, you can't beat the hell out of somebody and have them think that you're not going to stop, right? And you know that's your.
Well, he knew the police were coming, right? He knew the police were coming because he phoned them. He knew that he didn't need to get in that situation. The police told him not to follow him. He still did it. He still antagonised this person and did everything he could to lead to that confrontation happening. Everything he could. But he's innocent. Oh, he's the victim. He's been beaten to a pulp. He's the victim here. He's a poor victim just defending his people and his life from the evil thug black guy that didn't have any skittles. Fucking idiot.
That's the stand your ground law, right? I mean, you got.
Well, wasn't Trayvon standing his ground? Wasn't he? You're saying Trayvon's lost his rights since he attacked George Zimmerman, but wasn't he standing as a ground by attacking George Zimmerman? Was he not? Alright, no, he wasn't, because that only applies to people that aren't black.
You have a right to defend yourself, and.
But Trayvon didn't. He didn't have a right to defend himself. He lost all his rights as soon as he started defending himself.
And I think
You're a fucking... You contradict yourself from sentence to sentence.
George honestly thought he was going to be killed.
That's because he's a racist, paranoid, fucking stalker moron.
I really, really think he honestly thought that way.
So, it doesn't mean to say he's right, or you know, we should just let mentally ill people off with everything they do. You know, you're a paranoid schizophrenic and you stabbed your father to... Oh, well, you know, you really thought your father was the devil incarnate, so we'll let you off with that, you know, fuck. You know, we'll just let you, just go move in with your mum. That's what you do.
Nobody was helping him. I mean, he probably thought that he was being beaten by one of the criminals that had been coming into the neighborhood.
And why do you think that? Because he was black. So, he's black, and black people are criminals, therefore you must be one of the criminals. But stop calling Zimmerman a racist. You fucking moron.
And, you know, he didn't know if Trayvon Martin might have had a gun.
No, he didn't know that, but that's maybe why he shouldn't have followed him and should have just left it up to the police, rather than taking it aboard himself to be the superhero, and hence leading to somebody's death through his inexperience dealing with these scenarios. Maybe that's why we have a police force, so these things don't happen.
He didn't know that. I mean, if you look at the videotapes of Trayvon Martin in the store, in 7-Eleven, he looks high in the store.
He looks high in the store. He looks high in the store. Therefore he deserved to die.
I mean...
After being stalked by a paranoid racist.
He paid for his stuff, and then he wandered back in and picked something off the floor, and then he wandered back into, you know, where the drinks were. He's just kind of wandering around.
And what was George doing? I mean, did he sound like he's like, oh, this guy is kind of looking at me. He's got his head in his waist. He's wearing a button. No, that sounded high to me. But no, Trayvon, he's high. He's a black guy. He's on drugs. That's what young black dudes do. They go on drugs and start burglaring. But stop calling Zimmerman a stalking racist.
And he had lots of time.
Why is it like you're saying stop calling him a stalking racist and then point out your racism and justify other people's racism? multiple times in the same video. Oh yeah, it's because you're a fucking moron.
I mean, he left his home. What was there? Almost an hour of time from the time that he left his home to the time that she was shot.
No, it wasn't about an hour. So you're wrong. But I mean, but what does that matter? I mean, I sometimes go out and do things that are not just A to B. You know, does that mean I'm a criminal? Oh wait, I'm not black, so it's obvious. You know, if I'm walking around the neighbourhood, I'm not casing up the joint because I'm not black. You know, I'm white. Obviously, I can't be a criminal. You know, I mean, there's no white people, there's no black people in Scotland, so there's obviously no crime, no burglaries, no anything. You know, so you're a fucking moron. You know. So you're just implying again, oh, it's like an hour, a number you just made up. Just like you made up the black dudes doing the burglaries. An hour between him leaving the store and being killed. Therefore, in that hour, he was probably doing drug deals, or gang banging, or doing drive-bys, or selling heroin to children, precious white children, or something. Whatever. Just more fucking implications. You're a fucking moron, and just scum.
Right? I mean, and he did have marijuana,
Do you know what I mean?
THC in his blood, and as you...
So what did George Zimmerman... Oh right, we don't know what George Zimmerman had in his blood because they didn't even bother testing. They tested Trayvon, the person who was the victim, but they didn't test the blood of the killer. They didn't bother. No.
Urine.
And is that right? I mean, if it's not racism, then what is it? You know?
So, yeah. When George said, yeah, he looks high, yeah, he's probably high.
Oh, right, because George said it, so it must be true. George said, oh, he looks high, he's got his hand in his waist. You know, it's just like that guy, the old guy that shoots the teacher, oh, I'm afraid I'm standing my ground, I'm afraid for my life here. You know, just making excuses for what he's about to do. You know, not premeditation, but just living out a fantasy. That he's going to be the hero that guns down the bad guy. Okay, a fantasy of an ill-equipped, ignorant, paranoid brain, of an incompetent, unemployed guy whose self-esteem is probably very low. Okay.
And he probably didn't look like he,
Who was on medication, by the way. What was he on medication for? Oh, we don't care about that. We don't care about what drugs he had in his blood. We care about what Trayvon might have had in his blood.
Probably looked out of it. And George didn't know. All he knew was the evidence that he had, that young black teens had been coming into the neighborhood.
That's not evidence, you've just made it up.
And stealing and breaking into homes. So damn right I would have followed him.
So, stop calling Zimmerman a stalking racist. Damn right you would have followed him and stalked him because of his skin colour, which makes you a stalking racist as well.
Damn right. And I'm just sick and tired of this. Oh, it's a racist.
But you just said it was racist, and you just said it was stalking.
Tired of that implication.
It's not an implication. You prove it with your arguments. You prove that it's racism. You prove that it's stalking. You justify it. So how can you deny that it's stalking and racism? You're a fucking moron.
Because, honestly, if we really admit it to ourselves, if we had all that information, and we knew it, whatever, if it was Italian kids, Italian dudes, or Chinese dudes, or whatever.
But where's your evidence that it was black dudes doing all the burglaries? Where's your evidence? Where's your source? Where are you getting it from? And also, even if that was the case, it's still racism. It's still racism. Do you understand this? Oh look, there's a black person. Well, black persons have been committing crime. Therefore, you know, that black person is going to commit a crime. That's racism. Do you not even understand what racism is now? You know, or if it's Chinese, there's a Chinese person. Chinese people have been committing crimes. Therefore, that Chinese person will commit. That's race. Oh, it's a white person. White people have been committing crimes. Therefore, that white person will commit. That's still racism. Do you understand what racism is?
We would have followed. You know.
And then you would have stalked somebody based on that racism. So why why is it wrong for somebody to call Zimmerman or you a stalking racist? Because you just admitted that's what you do. Multiple times in the same video. You incredulous fucking moron.
Really concerned about our community, we would have followed that person. So yeah, enough of this nonsense. You're a racist. I'm so tired
You just admitted fucking...
of hearing that. I'm so sick and tired of hearing that. If you're really afraid that someone's stalking you, you go home. You don't confront them.
Alright, so that's what he should have done to avoid being killed by somebody. He should have acted properly. Zimmerman, he can do whatever he wants. But that boy, he should have been walking on home to his plantation and getting in his home. That's what he should have done.
You certainly don't get on top of them and start beating the crap out of them.
Alright, so that boy's been followed by somebody who's suspicious, and and he's not allowed to stand his ground. He's not allowed to stand his ground. George Zimmerman's allowed to stand his ground.
For them, which we know that's what happened. You can have a verbal exchange, but as soon as things get physical...
As soon as you stand your ground to defend yourself from somebody that's stalking you, you lose all your rights to live. And that person, it just depends on the skin colour, really. If it was Trayvon, a young black dude, stalking George, and George is like, oh, I don't want to go home to 1350, whatever my street is, because I don't want him to know my address. I'm going to confront him instead, and I'm going to defend myself and stand my ground against this young black dude who may or may not have been a burglar based upon other burglaries that may or may not have happened in the past by people of similar skin colour. Then, is he standing his ground? And then what if he attacks Trayvon thinking, oh, this guy's going to, he's, based upon all the information I don't possess, I'm going to conclude that I have to attack Trayvon and jump on him and punch him in the face and maybe try and render him fucking incapable until I can get away. And then Trayvon will just take out his thug gun and shoot George. And and of course in that scenario you'd be like, no, we shouldn't be arresting Trayvon. Based upon the fact that there are reported cases of demented, paranoid stalkers roaming the neighbourhood thinking that they're saving the world from crime when actually what they're doing is just being demented, paranoid stalkers. And those demented, paranoid stalkers have been half Jewish, half Cuban, skin-headed guys, and who've been calling the police multiple times over the last year. And based upon that, Trayvon's allowed to say, oh, well, there's a half Jewish, half Cuban, skin-headed guy stalking me, so I can assume then that that's a person that's a crazy stalker that's got a criminal record of violence, and I should assume by that I've got to stand my ground, defend myself from this person. I'm sure if it was the other way around like that, I'm sure you fucking unscrupulous, vile, horrid, foul fucking animal, I'm sure you would be, oh, Trayvon's a killer and it's politically correctness that's letting him off with the murder. Oh, black people are allowed to kill white people with impunity these days. These young black dudes. And so on. Are you going to pretend, no, you'd be just as fair and as the other way around, you'd be just as fair. No, you wouldn't, you fucking skank. It's so obvious that you and like the Wataman would be on this side. It's just so, you're just so fucking transparent. That's what irritates me about you. Stop calling him a stalking racist whilst defending stalking and racism. Okay.
That's it.
Are you sure?
It's a shame that this happened. The young kid had his whole life ahead of him.
Oh, wait, this is you showing that you're trying to be objective about it. It's not that I hate him. It's just that he's a drug dealer and up to no good. He's dead. But what was he doing during that hour? Where's his Skittles? He was high. He was on drugs. What was he doing? Was he scoping out people's houses? I mean, but it's a shame on the poor kid. Oh, he had his whole life in front of him.
It's been smart, and gone home instead of confronting him.
Oh, right, so he should have done exactly what you wanted him to do, and George Zimmerman's got free rein to do it.
You'd start to beat the shit out of him,
What's with the putting on the fucking New York Jewish accent now? What's it? You're Brooklyn. You're a Brooklyn Jew. That's what you are. And have been for the last couple of years.
But that's the thing, he was young. He was out to prove himself, and he probably thought, yeah.
Oh, right, so you're saying, oh, I feel sorry for him, he had his whole life. But then he was a criminal and...
I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. Yeah?
Yeah, well, what would you do? No, seriously, somebody's stalking you, you're thinking, oh, my little brother's at home, and I don't want to lead this stalker to my house. I ain't going to have to be the man. I ain't going to have to take a stand. I ain't going to have to stand my ground. Oh, but he's not allowed to because he's black.
He had an attitude, and unfortunately...
He had an attitude. There was a creep fucking stalking him, going, oh, these fucking goons. These assholes always get away, running after him and shit. Who had the attitude here? Who?
It got him killed. And that's the reality, people.
That's reality. He'd better have behaved the way that society expects and demands him to behave, and do what everybody expects of him, or he's going to get killed. And that's the reality. He better not step out of line. And that line is well defined for him, and it's less defined for people who aren't black. I think we know where they're going.
Anyway, yeah. So, a nicer subject. I usually put like a couple subjects in my videos.
Of course you do. And you talk about a subject, which leads to you talking about yourself. And that's the main subject of the video. But I'm not going to play that part. Fuck you, you moron.
Okay, so that's Great X's video there. And broadly, I would agree with a lot of the things he said there. Great X, obviously, like most people, is not someone I could agree with about everything. But in general, I would agree with his response there. But yes, as I mentioned before, Mancheeze is a transphobe, a TERF, which is, for those who don't know, a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. And as we can see here, she's actually expressing disappointment at the word cis. She seems to see the word cis as redundant because she thinks that there's only women and men. There's no need. She doesn't accept trans women as real women. She also describes women as a class, which I really hate, by the way. I hate people saying women are a class. Like, no, they're not. Class is a completely different way to carve up society when you start looking at people's class, like whether they are working class or middle class or upper class or anything between those classes. That's not what women are. Okay, women and men are not classes. But, oh god. There is this theme I keep being told with radical feminism that is this abolition of gender. And in some cases, I think that means abolition of gender roles, i.e. this idea that girls have to play with dolls and boys have to play with trucks. But that isn't what it means to her. She just thinks this whole idea that people might have a gender identity which is separate from their physical sex is something she refuses to respect. And she only seems to care that it's used to control and dominate women. And because this individual here has made the point that, cis is simply the counterpart to trans, and yeah, she seems to think here, women are not cis, we have always been women, women do not have privilege. Now, I would say women do not have privilege by virtue of being women, however, because Mancheeze, like a lot of self-identifying radical feminists, ignores intersectional theory, and she will not accept that women do have privilege by virtue of other things besides their being women. They do have, for example, cis privilege. In her case, she has cis privilege. She has white privilege. I am not aware of her sexuality. She is sex negative. There's no denying that. So yes, women do have other privileges. Certainly, white cisgender women do have privileges, that other women may not have. Trans women do not have. Black women do not have. Women of other ethnicities do not have. Mancheeze, being a transphobe and a racist, really hates the idea of having to acknowledge that. She hates the idea that the conversation might occasionally not be about her. Like, it might actually have to divert away from her and be about someone else for a short time, you know? And this is exactly why certainly like male anti-feminists don't get feminism, because they get so annoyed that there is a conversation going on that isn't about them. It's like, here's a conversation happening and you're not at the centre of it. You are not the centre of this conversation. Just for the moment, someone else is what's being talked about. Someone else's issues are what is being discussed, and it would be cool if you could just shut up and let them have their say for a while, or if you do have anything to contribute, please do it in such a way that you're not diverting the conversation to be back to being about you. Unfortunately, what you get with these kind of white feminist type people, these white cis straight, I'm assuming, I don't know if she's straight or not, I don't care, these privileged women within feminism, is they suddenly really don't like the idea of the conversation. You know, they act in exactly the same way the men they're criticising act, is that they suddenly don't like the idea of the conversation just isn't centred on them for a certain period of time. So yeah, there's a parallel there that they don't like having pointed out between them and men. And this person correctly points out Mancheeze is transphobic, and yes, there is nothing left to discuss. There is nothing to discuss. Again, she's calling women a class. They're not a class. And God, you're socialised into gender roles. Yes, people are socialised into gender roles, including people who are non-binary. That's one of the biggest issues that non-binary people have. They're being forced by society to pick one or the other. What an asshole. And this person correctly asked, where do trans folk fit into your world? And of course, oh, they're people. Oh, you recognise they're people. That's wonderful, isn't it? That's absolutely lovely of you. What a wonderful person you are. And you go on to compare them to dogs and sheep. Yes, and this person correctly concludes she is a transphobic bigot, which she is. So yeah, that's stuff I think a lot of people are already aware of. You know, they're already aware of this woman is just a horrible human being. But what's really surprising, you know, beyond the man-hating and the transphobia and the racism, is she can actually be kind of misogynistic at times. And that's what really jumps the shark for me. I mean, the hint is, I mean, she often appeals to these gender roles that she claims to want to abolish, like calling this guy a wuss, or hear this sort of weird remark about metrosexualism. But then we have this here where she's referring to Snake Plisskenist as a little pussy bitch. She's using a very obvious gendered slur, which, you know, you do hear people using these kind of slurs quite often, but she is a feminist. Surely, you know, it would be at the forefront of her mind not to use a gendered slur like that to describe someone. But if you think that's not bad enough, here we have her talking about War Corpse. She says, War Corpse tried coming after me a few years ago, or War Dope, sorry, tried coming after me a few years ago, and I just ignored his silly ass. He's porn sick and isn't a man, in my honest opinion. So, just to be clear, this is Mancheeze, a radical feminist, who just insulted War Corpse by calling him a woman. Yeah, that's a suitable insult in her mind. That's a way to insult someone, is to call them a woman. Someone who who doesn't want equality for women, she wants supremacy for women, by her own admission, has just called War Corpse a woman. because she thinks that's the best way to insult someone. You've just got to think, wow, does that even require any explanation? So yeah, this woman is a horrible person. She's bizarrely inconsistent. Is, let's face it, kind of a fucking loon. So why am I making a video about this? Well, that blog did annoy me a bit. I have asked WordPress to remove it, but they said I've got to get a US court order to do that. I do not have the time or the money or the knowledge of US law to go about doing something like that. I might pursue it more. If I thought anyone took this cretin seriously, I might perhaps bother, but I know they don't. You know, no one worth caring about does anyway, so why bother? But the actual reason that I decided to make this video is really just down to the fact this woman is like shit in a field. She is everywhere. She is always popping up here and popping up there with her stupid, fucking pointless opinions no one with half a brain would ever ask for. And it's getting irritating, and certain people I associate with seem to be welcoming to her or letting her into their fold or willingly engaging in communication with her. And if you wish to do that, please can you do so as far away from me as is humanly possible. If you think that's an unreasonable request on my part, I really don't fucking care. I'm absolutely sick to death of encountering such disgusting people as this. They are not people worth making time for. They are people well worth blocking, ignoring, and kicking well out of the fucking front door. And yeah, if anyone wants to sort of try to rationalise her views or explain to me the amazing subtle nuances of what she's saying that I have failed to pick up on, I already preemptively don't give a fucking shit. Okay, I'm not interested in listening to any stupid rationalizations. I get so sick of these rationalizations, one after the other, people rationalizing this or rationalizing that. How about we just look at facts? Look at facts and analyze those, rather than trying to figure out ways in which we could interpret these facts so that they suit our own prejudices. How about that? Is that too much to ask? That we just do that? So that's really all I wanted to go over here. There are other sort of repulsive comments and so on lying around. I should add, I mean, this is not stuff I've had to dig around hard to find either. You know, so I really don't think there's a lot of excuse for people not having done their homework on this person and not already realising what a disgusting excuse for a human being she is. So yeah, I normally say let me know what you think, don't I, at the end of my videos. Okay, let me know what you think. If you're going to defend her, I don't care, and don't expect me to listen. And if you annoy me enough, I will block you. Okay, goodbye.